What's up everybody, it's David. Today we're going to take a glimpse at what I do at my day job at All Classic Motors. This is a 1970 Boss 302 Mustang power steering pump assembly that we're going to do a full restoration and rebuild on. Keep in mind, if you have a different application of Ford, that you're not out of luck. This is probably the same assembly in principle as what you have if it's a 60s or 70s Ford pump. So just stay with us and this will probably help you out quite a bit. The first thing we're going to do is completely disassemble the pump. One thing I'm using to help this is a jig that I made out of an old power steering pump bracket welded to some angle iron. I can mount this in a vise easily, and it's a nice third hand to help things out. First, you must remove the nut on the back of the can. This is securing the can in place and it is preventing it from coming off. After taking the nut off, we can now take the can off. It's not threaded on or bolted on or anything, it's just interference fit with the gasket that is sealing it. To remove the can, just twist it back and forth and lean it a few times while lifting upward. This should pop the can off just like this. After removing the can, we now have to remove the stamped steel dome that you see here held down by 4 bolts. This is the pump cover case. There's one assembly that will be stuck on the inside of the case as you remove it. You'll have to bang it on the table a few times, as you see me do here, to remove this pump assembly. But be warned, it might have some fluid still in it. After cleaning up our mess and getting a new piece of cardboard down, we are now ready to disassemble the rest of the pump. If this is your first time disassembling a pump or rebuilding one, I would strongly suggest trying to keep all the parts in order and facing the same direction that you pulled them out. Notice that I only pulled one of the pins out. Only one of the pins is supposed to come out. The other one is hard pressed in. Do not try to take it out, you will break it. Next, we're going to take the pulley off of the shaft. Rather, we're going to push the shaft out of the pulley. There are a few ways to do this, but this is by far my favorite. Here we are using the original main shaft seal as a bushing or a protector between the pulley and the cast iron machine face underneath. There is no damage or harm done to this as we're replacing the seal anyways. Pull the seal out with a pulley puller and wipe down the surface. After cleaning with mineral spirits in our solvent tank, we're now going to blast this piece. But first, we're going to protect the lead bushing that is on the inside. It's in pretty much NOS condition and we don't want to damage it at all. And here are the main painted units that are now ready to be sandblasted and prepped for new paint. We're sandblasting at about 120 psi with medium grade sandblasting media. This removes old paint and rust extremely well, especially on pieces that are in good condition to start with, like these. Make sure to remove all the rust that is in pitting or any areas where it might be hiding, especially in the groove of the pulley. You don't want paint flying off while your engine starts. Here are our freshly sandblasted and glass beaded pieces that are now ready for paint. Here is the cast iron pump face that is now painted and cured in the correct dark metallic blue power steering pump paint that Ford used back in the 60s. Before reassembling, we want another clean work area to lay everything out and get it in the correct order. Notice that we are using an NOS gasket kit placed here on the table. The first piece that we're going to put on after putting the bottom plate and the shaft back in is the main seal. Now remember, as you're putting all these pieces back together, especially the seal, you want everything to be lubricated in type ATF transmission fluid. Here we're using the original Ford tool, a seal replacer, to put the seal back on to ensure that it is down all the way and it is on straight. Let's press the pulley back on while we still have access to the back side of the main shaft. Press the main shaft down until it bottoms out into your support plate. This will ensure that the main shaft is flush with the face of the pulley. This is the alignment that Ford used from the factory on their power steering pumps. This is the next piece to put on after the main shaft. There are 4 holes in it. One of the holes has a slotted oval hole inside of it. That oval hole and the hole 180 degrees off from it are the ones that you're going to use with the dowel pins. The slotted oval hole is the one that goes on the loose drift pin. The perfectly circular hole is the one that goes on the solid pin. Pretty much all the pieces you're putting on have this slotted oval hole, and they all follow the same rule as far as which pin they go onto. As you're putting these pieces back together, you will notice that a nice, pretty looking slot is going to form right in front of you as I'm showing here. Next, we're going to remember to put on the NOS seal that came from our seal kit on between the cast iron face and the stamped steel pump cover. Also, we're going to put on the valve assembly as well. This gets an O-ring, a thick O-ring that goes between it and the valve cover right here. Now, you must use either this tool or something similar to it to prevent this O-ring from rolling or being cut while you're trying to put this cover back on. Again, lubricate everything with type ATF transmission fluid and you should be good to go. Also keep in mind that the weep hole on the cast iron pump needs to line up with the weep hole on the cover plate. Before putting the cover plate on, finally, we must put on the springs that go underneath. Now you want this piece to go on as straight as possible. Press it down with your hands at first, but then hand tighten the nuts down to make sure it's lining up correctly. Once you get all the nuts started, you can slowly tighten them down with a wrench one at a time until the pump is flush with the surface below with the gasket sealing between. The final piece to put on is the can itself. There's one seal that goes underneath the can where the nut holds it down, and the main seal that goes around the circumference is the most important. You must lubricate this again with ATF transmission fluid before putting the can on. Also lubricate the surface of the can as you're trying to slide this on. Now this is a very tricky part that some people have a hard time with, but here's a very simple process to do it. You cannot tighten the can down using just the nut. We put down the tag and the nut first just to keep things in place, but we must use pressure on the edge of the can in a protected manner to bring the can down over the seal and then finish with the nut. Here I'm using a microfiber rag to prevent the paint from scratching with what I'm about to do. Use a metal or wood dolly like this with a wide surface area and some weight to it to tap the can down. Finger tighten the nut down a little bit, then do the other side to bring it down some more. Then you should be around where you need to be to tighten the nut down for the final tightening. Very carefully tighten the nut down as you don't want to scratch your painted surfaces around. And here we have our final product, a 1970 Boss 302 Mustang power steering pump assembly, completely rebuilt and restored using NOS parts and pieces and some Ford tooling to help us along. If you don't want to rebuild the power steering pump assembly yourself, you can send it to us at allclassicmotors.com, or we might have one in stock, rebuilt and restored like this, ready to go for you. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for future videos as well. Thanks for watching.